The Bachelorette recap, Becca's got no sauce. On the spectrum of contestant with a suspicious romantic past on The Bachelorette, there are two extremes. On one end there's the playboy, whose recent hookup with another woman is repeatedly brought up as evidence that he isn't really on the show to date The Bachelorette. He is portrayed as seeking fame or just more sex, and there's a non-zero chance that his ex is paraded in front of cameras to explain to The Bachelorette that he's on the show for reasons that might be wrong. On the opposite end is the virgin, whose complete lack of sexual history is repeatedly brought up as evidence that he isn't ready for any sort of commitment because what if he can't figure out how sex works? Hypothetically, the show's ideal man is somebody who has plenty of sexual experience, but who has never gotten tied up with any of his past partners, instead viewing his lifetime of sex as training to one day please a woman he met on television. On this season of The Bachelorette, we had Colton, the first man to somehow embody both ends of the spectrum. Early in the season, Becca grew concerned about Colton's past relationship with Tia, a contestant on last season of The Bachelor. Was Colton still emotionally attached to Tia? Was his sudden interest in hooking up with Becca so soon after hooking up with another woman from the same TV show evidence that he's really in this just to be on TV? But then last week, Colton revealed that he is this season's virgin, causing Becca to literally walk away from him on a date. Why hasn't Colton done sex before? And what does it mean for their future as a compatible couple? Monday night, those two Coltons collided. For the second straight week, he talked a lot about being a virgin. He talked to his mom about the fact he's never had sex, a discussion his uncomfortable mom later classified as not a mother-son conversation. Last week, Colton mentioned he wasn't sure if his dad knew about his virginity under the apparent assumption that most people keep their dads updated about their sex-haver status. His dad must still be in the dark. Colton had the virgin convo only with his mom. Later, Colton confronted Chris Harrison about whether or not sex would be expected of him were he to end up in next week's Fantasy Suites episode. Chris assured him it was a decision Colton and Becca would have to mutually agree upon. How you choose to handle it as a man is up to you, were Chris's exact, not at all shady words. It's unclear whether Colton was excited or scared by the prospect. I think he was mainly just confused. I half expected him to ask Chris where babies come from and how girls pee if they don't have wieners. On top of all that, his fling with Tia was brought back to the forefront, as Tia was given the opportunity to confront Becca prior to the episode's rose ceremony. The scene was billed as Becca just reconnecting with some of her girlfriends ahead of a tough decision, but that's not something that usually happens at this juncture of The Bachelorette. I think the show just wanted to remind us about Tia. Tia confessed that she still had strong feelings for Colton, saying she was sick to my stomach about the thought of Colton and Becca ending up together. It's unclear why Becca would care about Tia's interest in Colton, considering the two were just on a television show where they literally competed against each other for the same man, but Becca was taken aback by the news, and in the end, she dumped Colton. She said she did it neither due to his virginity nor her conversation with Tia, but last week she was calling Colton a bronzed god and fantasizing about him picking her up and doing whatever he wants with me. You don't go from 100 to 0 that quickly without having a pretty good reason to slam on the brakes. I get it, Colton is basically the opposite of that ideal bachelorette man we described earlier, as he brings all of the prior relationship baggage of the playboy with all of the sexual cluelessness of the virgin. But mainly, I feel kinda bad for him. He was just a week away from the sex episode. Instead, he is condemned to continue his life of emotionally taxing, sexless relationships. Most confusing moment, Garrett and his brother. The hometown dates were, for the most part, entirely uneventful. There's normally some sort of conflict here. Parents convince their child shouldn't marry the person from the TV show, awkward reunions between estranged family members, a home environment that makes it clear there's a big difference between the two members of a couple. We didn't get that this time around. Becca went into 4 white, middle to upper class, 2-parent households, where every family was happy to see their son and his new girlfriend. The biggest drama point was in Colton's dad saying that if Becca doesn't love Colton, she should dump him, which seemed pretty non-controversial. She even took him up on the advice. There really isn't much to talk about. Garrett and his brother both made scissors over their eyes when they saw each other. Everybody laughed, but nobody ever said why. I just have to assume they're in the least cool gang of all time. Biggest liar, Becca. Becca went to Buffalo with Jason, who explained that if she's going to date a Buffalonian, which is apparently what you call a person from Buffalo, she needs to know how to eat buffalo wings. Naturally, the two then went to the Anchor Bar, where the buffalo wing was purportedly invented. There, they were entered in a 1-minute wing eating contest, a 1-minute wing eating contest that was a complete sham and for which I will not let Becca go uncriticized. First off, the most important element of buffalo wings is that they are covered in buffalo sauce. This is incontrovertible. You can eat a chicken wing without buffalo sauce on it, but it would not be a buffalo wing. You can tell when somebody is eating buffalo wings because they are essentially impossible to eat without covering your entire mouth and all of your fingers in bright red-orange sauce. However, While Jason and every other contestant immediately became slathered in the telltale signs of buffalo wing consumption, Becca remained unblemished. Becca was not eating buffalo wings, she was eating sauceless wings, the dry skin crackling in her mouth without a hint of flavor, so as not to tarnish her lipsticked mouth and polished fingernails. She is a fraud. Secondly, there is the matter of the contest, which several signs and a host referred to as a 1-minute wing eating contest. During this sham of a competition, Becca did not eat her wings quickly, she ate at a pace of 1 wing every 40 seconds or so, and spent plenty of time flirting with Jason, attempting to distract him and even smearing a wing on his face. The wing left no mark on Jason's face, because, as previously established, Becca was eating fraudulent, sauceless wings. However, at the end of the minute, Becca's basket was loaded with the bones of at least 5 wings. Where did she get these bones from? Were they stolen from a more worthy competitor? I suspect that Becca was using pre-eaten drumsticks to artificially enhance her eating performance. But we are just approaching the base of Becca's mountain of lies. Last week in the Bahamas, Becca stunned Blake by leading him down a random beach only to walk him right into a concert by the Bahamen. Blake did not necessarily know that it was the Bahamen, because they did not play Who Let the Dogs Out in his presence. We're left with one question, Betty, who the hell is the real Becca?